I know this is your first time seeing it, right?
I've seen that before.
Oh, you have? Okay. Okay. Yeah, I
hmm
know it's kind of old. What's your take? What's your take on that?
Unfortunately, there's a lot of pain and trauma in people in general. Um, it can happen in men, it can happen in women, but for some reason, women tend to not take accountability. A lot of times, I won't say at all, but a lot of times for their pain and trauma, and then it shows up in a relationship as the saying hurt people you know so for whatever reason she had that story in her head and believed it so, but knew it was a lie, just so she can hurt that man, just so she could control that man. And whatever her thoughts on that is, or whatever her reasoning is for it, we don't know because we didn't see the rest of it, or I don't think she said anything on the show. But yeah, we have to start looking at the background as to why these things happen, because this is not the first time. you know I can for one say that this happened to me, not to that extent, not to being accused of doing anything to my children,
Right.
but someone holding something over my head, or someone you know doing something to where I didn't agree with. I didn't have the control, because for whatever reason, people like the men and women to fight. They don't like them to come together and work together, and make things work. Whether you're together or not, doesn't matter. What matters is you and the other, parent, come into an amicable situation to where you guys can work together and co-parent a child. You're going to agree, you're going to disagree, but that's just part of it. So, for her to do what she did, is definitely, something I would have did the same thing. I'm not accepting your apology because it's not sincere. I know you and you know me, and by you putting this on me, that caused me pain for so many years, you know, no one really thinks about the man and his feelings and how he feels about a situation because he's a man. He's supposed to be able to take punishment, take pain, and still, function at a high level and still get things done, which we do because that's what we do and who we are. But for you not to acknowledge, hurt and pain that you cause, that's a different type of monster right there. That's different type of level of trauma right there. And like you said, that's a different demon right there on a whole nother level. So something in your life, caused you pain, and how you deal with it is you cause me pain. You don't take, anything that I said, or, anything that I was going through in consideration, because then you would have to face the truth within yourself. And most people don't want to do that because it will cause them to have to confront, their shortcomings. It will cause them how to confront, the things that they do wrong on a daily basis, but they're comfortable with doing them. It would cause them to either confront me having to change, so I'm not like that, or to admit to myself, I like being this way, or this feels natural, this feels good. So, I mean, I commend that brother because I could see his hands shaking.
Yeah, I seen that too. Yeah.
He wanted to punch
He
her in
want
the
to reach across that table. Hey.
yeah, exactly. He wanted to right in the
He,
kisser.
Right.
right in the kisser. Like right across the room, like right out of your seat, all the way over across the other room. But I commend that brother, man. I yield.
Man, makes great, excellent points, man. I think we're in agreement with a lot of the things you said. When I saw this, man, it did, I was able to connect with it, not to the extent of, being accused of, touching my kids or anything like that, but again, something uh because we didn't have a good relationship, you holding that against me and keeping me from my kids, whatever for that whatever reason you think that was. And I know you kind of touched on a lot of these same things. But to see her logic that, you didn't fight hard enough, you know, for these kids, I was like, what the are you talking about? Like why is it that I have to uh go through this type of drama with you to see the children that we both created? And I know it's not just because it's not because it's nothing that I did solely, but a lot of it is because of what's going on with you. I don't know, like like I said, you kind of touched on a lot of this. So you pretty much covered most of this, but it definitely could stem from, their childhood, their upbringing, stuff that they encounter, not have how to have, a good way of reasoning, like thinking things out. I'm sure that she said along the years, she told her girls that I love you, but that's a lack of, and I know this might seem extreme, but abuse, because there's a lot of things that you could have kept them and shielded them from them having their dad in their life. And because of your issues, you kept these girls and their father away from him because you were abusing him as well. As you said, his hands were shaking. He even like the dude was gritting his teeth, and you was just sitting there stone cold face, and you had the nerve to say what you said. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You didn't mean what you said. You just was mad because you was just put on the spot and felt like you had to say I'm sorry, because if you were sorry, this should have been said a long time ago. And necessarily shouldn't have been necessarily said, but the action should have been different. Like, so you're telling me it took 25 years and for you to come on a show for you to decide to say sorry? That's ridiculous, man. I don't think women understand how this type of stuff weighs on a guy. Like, there's a lot of things that a man could deal with. They say that, when a child is born, there's a certain connection that a woman has with the child, but they don't talk about the connection that the man has with the child. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a physical connection, but he knows in his heart of hearts that this is his seed and he needs to do whatever he can do to take care of this child. And for that to be taken away from him is wrong. And you know what? I wish I had a woman on here because I really wanted to see. I want to see like a woman's response to this. You know, to see what they really think of. Because a lot of times when a woman is wrong, they like to jump on the woman's side. Oh yeah, I think she maybe not jump on her side, but make an excuse for them. There's no excuse for this, man. Like, this is happening way too much. Way too often, and a lot of times we don't hear about the time that this stuff is like how much this is really happening. I saw, maybe we could play this at another time, like next show or something. But I saw a lady who was mad that the guy was dating somebody else, and he took her to he she took him to child support court because and asked for full visitation because he was dating somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you decided you didn't want him, you moved on, but you telling me he can't date nobody else? Like, it makes sense to me. Like, this stuff is crazy. Like,